Hey everyone, what is up? Ross here on MGF Customs, back from my brief little disappearance, but today I am back in a world post live action Ahsoka Tano, and yes, I get to be that dramatic because I waited 12 years to see it happen, and Rosario Dawson did an amazing job. However, now I am getting to work on my own custom Ahsoka Tano as promised from the Mandalorian Season 2, and before we get started, I wanted to thank the Ridge Wallet for supporting the channel this holiday season and sponsoring today's video. Did you know it's already December? I didn't until like yesterday, but as I said in another video, Grogu, as we now know him, is raking in huge fat stacks of cash by meeting up with Bo-Katan and Ahsoka and getting everybody hyped on his way to Tython, so he's definitely gonna have to upgrade his wallet this holiday season. So they sent over the Ridge.com exclusive forged carbon version, and there are also titanium and aluminum options and over 24 different colors and styles to choose from. It's super thin and sleek. It can hold up to 12 cards, your cash on the back. It's RFID blocking in case some weird guy is tracking you. It's also designed to last, so you won't have to buy another wallet for a very long time, possibly ever again, and that is backed by their lifetime warranty, and returns are free too. I personally love it because I've always been a bit of a germaphobe even before 2020, and it's actually super easy to sanitize after going into places, if you're paranoid like me. So if you're ready to finally upgrade your wallet situation, or if you're looking for a great practical gift to get in time for the holidays this year, then be sure to head on over to ridge.com/MGF, use code MGF, and get 10% off your order with free worldwide shipping. Okay, so right now I am in the process of sculpting Ahsoka's montrals and the Leku tendrils that dangle down from 3 points on her head tails, and essentially what I did to get started here, because the live action interpretation of Ahsoka has the shorter design, which I know not everyone is a fan of, and believe me, it is pretty jarring and still kind of tough for even me to get past every time I see it, but I'm ultimately okay with accepting it. But in getting started with this process, I basically took a LEGO Ahsoka Tano headpiece and then with my drill grinded out the inside of this thing. Now I did this before with my Season 3 Ahsoka, and then the one that I just did this past summer for the Siege of Mandalore and the end of the Clone Wars. And so basically what I'm doing with the drill here is creating space between the minifigure body and the head tails. I need the head and the torso to not touch the head tails so that I can paint my own Ahsoka phase, paint the torso, and be able to remove the head tails piece safely without it ripping into the paint. And while I'm sitting here drinking my rather flat and poorly sweetened coffee, I did want to show you, of course, the beginning of this sculpting process. So essentially what I did to get started, even after drilling out the inside, was also sand down the two little front Leku pieces, and then I also sanded down the top quite a bit, which is something that I've never actually done with an Ahsoka minifigure before, because I actually need the montrals, the horns, to go back. And if you guys don't know, by the way, just for the rest of this video, the montrals are the horns on top, and then the Leku are the tendrils that hang down, just if you didn't know. I also chopped off a large portion of the back section, and then finally got to work with this, and I did begin by starting off with the left montral bit, actually her right montral, and it worked out really well. Actually, I managed to get through this whole process by essentially just applying a little bit of Procreate right onto the surface there, and then the initial goal is to just morph it on there, right, and kind of move the edges of it downward and kind of outward onto the rest of the piece, because I've said this before in previous sculpting tutorials, but when you're adding onto a piece, you're always trying to create a smooth transition. Now this is achieved by basically just pulling the Procreate down and down and down into the piece so that it's as flat as can be, and then you're just sanding away at those edges later on where the Procreate ends, because you want to basically merge it with the existing Lego piece. And that's basically what I'm doing throughout this whole process. It's what I did to make the Siege of Mandalore Ahsoka, and it's what I'm doing here. And essentially, yeah, eventually I got there while looking at my reference and managed to shape up this horn piece to my liking, and I think it turned out really cool. I'm really happy with it. And then I got her left Leku piece on there as well. This is still just a base shape. I should mention that this is all very rough and unfinished, if that wasn't already obvious to you. And yeah, and then I basically duplicated the process for her left montral horn and then also the right Leku piece. And this is the biggest thing with sculpting that I think a lot of customizers don't really talk about too much, and that's basically that to achieve the best results sculpting, it's all about just sculpting a little bit on, adding a tiny little bit, adding a little bit of a layer here, and you're just waiting for every little tiny bit to dry, to cure, to harden before you sand and then move on to your next sculpting session. And the reason you do this, and the reason that I personally do it, is to not damage any other part of the sculpt, right? Because it would be very, very difficult for me to complete this whole piece if I was like mushing my finger into other parts of the sculpt and then getting fingerprints everywhere and ruining it. It's just best to do a little bit, let that harden over a few hours, come back, sand it down, add more, and keep going. That's really how you sculpt, and that's really the most fundamental rule, I think, with sculpting, with Procreate in general. So that is actually going to do it, because this is really where I'm at right now with this head tails piece. It's coming along really, really nicely. I'm currently working on adding more layers to the sides to create a little bit more volume to try to make this piece as screen accurate as possible. But it definitely is kind of strange making these pieces so much shorter than my Clone Wars Ahsoka I just did this past summer. It's I'm looking forward to the rest of this figure. Unfortunately, I'm still trying to figure out how to source the lightsaber hilts. I've seen some customizers, I think, that have some pretty good casts for those that I'm considering. But then also it turns out I did not have the head or the hands for this figure, so I had to order those, and I hope I ordered them in the right color. There wasn't a thumbnail for the head that I ordered on Bricklink, so we'll see how it all turns out. But I appreciate you guys being patient with me. As always, I do have the parts for Bo-Katan mostly ready to go, just not the helmet or the arms at this point in time, and so I'm excited to work on that, continue working on Hulk and Thor from Avengers Endgame, and then of course post all my progress first, just like this Ahsoka head tails piece so far, that went up yesterday actually over on my Patreon. If you'd like to consider supporting the channel that way, it's always fun over there. And then also you can find me over on my second channel, where I'm posting weekly vlogs of my dumbass making these figures and videos, and also reactions to The Mandalorian Season 2, which have been interesting to say the least. Otherwise, of course, I always mention it, you can always find me over on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, posting all my digital Photoshop edits like these. This is the Ahsoka Legacy shot. Really, really happy with how this one turned out, and everybody seemed to enjoy it over there as well. And so that is all available. I think it's pretty cool. That's why I always recommend it. So when I'm not posting for a week, you can find me there. Yeah. All right, I'm going. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for hanging out. I'll be back with more videos soon. But until then, take care, everyone. Stay safe out there. Happy December. Keep creating. This is the way. May the Force be with you. All the things. Goodbye.